bringing to you. Every time we turn live, man, you know it's the truth. Every after show, moving down. This the time to move around. No Gimmicks podcast is going down. Every night, every time in the ring. Is it time for no gimmicks? No, we doing our thing. What's your state of mind? State divine. Moving down a statement when we take the line. This is exactly wrestling the state design. When you see Stone Cold like me, with the stunner in the world, exactly, man, what we bring. Every night we move like Brock Lesnar. The F5, no gimmicks. We take you to your limit. What's the feeling? When we live in the air, you know we on. It's the time. Guarantee we move. You know how we respond. The state is mine. The state design when we feel it.
What is up, people? Welcome back to the No Gimmicks podcast here on the DFPN. Real quick note, we were supposed to have Montezi on Tuesday. Due to circumstances beyond his control, he was unable to make it. So we have rescheduled Montezi's interview for next Tuesday. You guys will get that. We'll be live on Facebook and all that great stuff. But shout out to Montezi, guy that does our theme song. Very, very good brother. And he'll be back on Tuesday. But welcome to the show. We got a good one planned out for you guys. We already had a show and a half before we started here tonight. But we got a good show for you guys tonight. There's going to be some references to a certain person that worked at TNT. Cover your ears because we will be talking bad about this person. But before we get to the show, shout out if you're listening to our voices. Follow us on Patreon, patreon.com/thatfeelingpodcast. Subscribe to the Bandcamp, thatfeeling.bandcamp.com. And let's get into the show, man. I want to start here because this one's kind of fresh in the in the wrestling business. We had I don't know if you want to call it a debut, more than a return, but the Wyatt Sicks and how they popped up on Raw caused quite a bit of buzz. I actually watched that live. First and foremost, very good Raw. Raw was a very good show Monday, and we had a lot of good things happen. Return to Seth Rollins, that kicked off something. Damian Priest, who we learned is okay after that spot that happened at Clash at the Castle. So kudos to him. Looks like they're going to be going up against each other at Money in the Bank. So that was some good stuff. But the thing that everybody's talking about right now is the Wyatt Sicks, man. I thought for what they did with this and how they introduced all of them, very well done. Very well done. This reminded me of like the horror movie shows, like how they set it up and the slow draw, the build, the camera angles, how they just focused on each person and how they introduced them and the way they introduced them, bodies everywhere. I thought this was really well done. What did you think about it?
No, that's the first thing I noticed about the presentation was how well it was done, how well it got produced. Just to see Bray Wyatt's vision come to life,
right,
and what he was planning. I mean, the guy was just a master at storytelling.
Yeah,
and having this thing figured out all the way back to the Firefly Funhouse, and taking those elements and incorporating them here with the Wyatt Sicks. And the fact that his brother, Bo, is continuing on this legacy of a character that seemingly is about to get a huge shot in the arm here because it had been panned so much when Bray was alive because of, the Royal Rumble spot and everything that happened. So to see a lot of these people get second chances here and to do something special. And I can't wait to see what they do with this, because what I watched was, I said, you know, this is kind of like Halloween Horror Nights, something you'd watch through Halloween Horror Nights and you would see, So like I said, I thought it was well done. This is like the WWE. There's nobody that can beat them when it comes to producing these type of segments and just the creative juices that flow when people are on the right page and trying to do something here. And I mean, the fact that they attacked both baby faces and heels
Right.
was a great thing here. Very representative. It's no different than the NWO attacking the baby faces and the heels. So
Right.
this group doesn't discriminate. Um, and from what I read earlier, they wanted to um, produce them in several elements of the shows moving forward. So I mean, that could be NXT, that could be SmackDown, that could be Raw. I like that, aspect of, you never know when the Wyatt Sicks
Where they're going to
show up.
pop up.
Or
Yeah.
exactly, you don't know what they're going to do, and I like that element. I like that it's must see TV, because you just don't know what's going to happen, and that's the thing that's missing. That WCW, and we'll be talking about them in a little
Yep.
while. But what
Yep.
WCW did so well was you had to watch that show to find out just what, as they say, what the hell they were going to do next.
Right.
And if
When-
you have this on the show, it's going to be the same thing. You have got
Right.
to watch Raw, SmackDown, NXT, even their YouTube channel, to find out exactly what they're going to do next.
Right. So the one big thing that they did, that a lot of people that I wasn't aware of, but a lot of people caught on to, was the QR codes. And a lot of the backstory they put into the QR codes for people to figure out. And a lot of people went on Twitter as this was happening and was breaking this shit down and
Yeah.
putting the QR codes to injecting it into kind of like the story, which I've never seen that happen before. I thought that was actually really fucking cool that people were using social media to actually inject the story as it was unfolding, and how they made sense of all of it. Even going back to Nikki Cross's transformation, how they set up, I guess it's Nikki Cross, what the fuck is his name? The creepy
Dexter
looking
Lumis.
dude. Dexter Loomis, Joe
Yeah.
Gacy,
Mm.
Eric Redbeard, and Uncle
Yeah.
Howdy. They did a fantastic job just rolling this out and eventually bringing it on screen. My biggest thing that I took from it is they're starting to find a way to use the non-wrestling writers in a meaningful way in a situation like this, because this had Hollywood shit written all over it.
Well, didn't it, when Brady was alive, didn't he have somebody that was from the horror genre that was working with him on his stuff?
Yes.
So
His
they
best
might be
friend.
incorporating, they may be incorporating that person into telling the story. But
Which is awesome.
this isn't the first time though that the fans have taken to social media, internet, to figure things out. If you remember the 2000, I think it was 2007 return, I believe it is, of Chris Jericho. Save Us Y2J. Remember that campaign they did?
Oh yeah,
Where they
yeah,
were, trying to figure it out. So, and they have stuff when people were going looking up stuff and all that. So it's not the first time it's happened, but done correctly,
Right.
it can have big results. So people knew that they were going to show up on Raw. They just didn't know what segment. So you had to keep watching because it's building. It's building.
That's what I'm talking about. Like
yeah.
people have figured out they were going to be there that night, and then they were actually like, this person is this, and this is their backstory. I've never seen that happen live. I know what you're saying with the Jericho stuff, but them like, oh, this is who this is. I had never seen anything like that. I thought that was really fucking cool of them to do
some
that.
people are speculating because Eric, Redbeard had the sledge, had the hammer in his hand. That's a representation of Luke Harper when they
the
were
Bludgeon
the
Brothers.
Bludgeon Brothers, correct?
Yeah. That
so,
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So I think it's all kind of cool shit. and it's really the perfect time to do it because we're almost to Halloween.
Yep.
So
And you
this
can
is
build that to
you can yeah. So
Halloween. Yeah.
and this to me honestly, this is what I'm talking about. Like they're talking about bringing back Bad Blood for October. So I would definitely incorporate the Y6 into Bad Blood. And this is
Hell yeah.
also a perfect time where I wish they would have had Halloween Havoc as a main roster pay per view. Like
Right.
WWE, like I don't know, it's like and it's not like a lot of eyeballs on NXT. This is why you should incorporate a lot of these names, especially right now because there's so much talk about WCW. Why not incorporate a lot of WCW names onto the main roster? Because a lot of the names they use right now, I'll be honest with you, they're kind of whack. Just being
I would
honest.
agree. I would agree. I would agree.
They
I
got a
would
whole
agree.
IP there of pay per view names you could use. So I don't know. I mean, another one that they actually can incorporate in this, if you want to say, this is just just telling stories, but if you wanted to bring somebody into the Y6, trying to put them into the faction at some point, Sold Out would be a good one to do that because essentially
Really?
you're selling your soul to Uncle Howdy to the
I
so
like that.
I think
Now
Sold
there
Out
there
would
is
be that.
speculation that there is a 6 member, but the main speculation is that Bray is actually the 6th member.
I've heard that, and that would make sense. I mean, he's represented by the ladder. I mean, he is the, and if you
Right.
use that, like he is the guiding force behind this. But to me, it will honestly be Braun Strowman.
I think so too. And
Yeah,
they actually used a clip from 2020 when Braun and Bray had that match. I forget what pay-per-view it was, but it was in the Thunderdome, obviously.
yeah, right.
Um, and Bray was like, "It's gonna be perfect this time," and that just made me think of, "All right, yeah, bring him in. That it would work with him in it."
Yeah.
Also, you were talking about like the WCW and the must see TV aspect.
Yeah.
Immediately when I saw the debut, I was like, you know what you could do with this group and it would work was the parking lot spot. Not so much exactly like that, but an urgent, like somebody running out, like, y'all need to get to the back. They're at it. They're beating people up. It's a mess back there. Y'all need to get back there now and then rush back there. You could do something like that with them.
Yeah, you could, but that would kind of kill the mystique a little bit
You think so?
because when they did that in WCW, it was essentially these two rebels. This group here being a kind of like a dark side kind of a faction, it would be more of a call if you just start seeing signs that they're there, and that's
Right.
basically the lights flickering or something like that. You can bring them in that way. I think like, oh my God, they're back here. Well, that wouldn't work to me because it would kill the aura that they're trying to present. Like you don't know, And what would have even been better is if they had to show it in the gorilla position, right? If it would have been in that sea of bodies, it would have been Bruce Pritchard there or somebody like that upper management
yeah.
that would have been there because that was gorilla.
Yep.
So that would have been cool. But overall presentation for what I saw and where I think they're going, it's a 10 out of 10 for me. I really enjoyed that segment.
I enjoyed it too. Now,
Yeah.
you said going forward, I don't know where you go after this. I don't because that was a hell of a debut.
It's gonna have to be sporadic, but at the same time, you can't just say, okay, Uncle Howdy, you're gonna go and you're gonna we're gonna fuse you in with Cody or we're gonna fuse you in with Damian Priest. You would have to basically and this is kind of where I think what this is what's gonna be the problem with the Y6 is they're gonna steal all the heat from the Judgment Day. Because
Oh, most definitely. Most
they're
definitely.
doing the same type of group here, but people are going to go with the Wyatt Sicks
Oh,
over the Judgment Day. And the
yeah.
Judgment Day now, because of this shit they got going on with with Dominic and Liv Morgan, which to me just doesn't seem natural at all. And I think the whole card room key that's kind of lame, to be honest. But I do say at one point we're going to see a betrayal of, for Finn Balor. I think eventually Balor is going to turn on Priest, because at the same time you got to look at it like this. So where you go with the storyline with Damian Priest and Seth Rollins is Finn Balor is the guy who was the first Universal Champion, and Seth Rollins is the person that injured him. And you never really got that feud about that. And now it's kind of like Finn Balor here, who has a history, the Bullet Club, and you're kind of like saying you're playing second fiddle in the Judgment Day faction when, like, dude, I was the first Universal Champion, and people seem to forget who I am and forget that I'm Prince Devitt.
Right.
So I think there's some meat there that could, attempt to try to cook at some point. But you have all
too.
But you have all these. It's amazing to me that you have majority all the Bullet Club members in WWE right now.
Yeah, the originals. All of them except Fale.
Correct. But you have all the characters, man. Like I'm just thinking, like, man, of a super faction there that they could do there. But you have the ingredients there to cook, but everybody's got different dishes that they're in right now.
Yep, this is true. Some not even on the same show.
Yeah.
So it would be a long stretch, but I would love to see them make that happen just for nostalgia's sake. You don't even have to call it the Bullet Club. Everybody know what the fuck that shit is.
But on a positive, another positive right quick. So I was going through the WWE Music YouTube channel, and I came across a theme I had not heard that they did a remix for. Damage Control. So Damage Control has a remix of their original music, but it's got Japanese lyrics in it, and it's a banger.
Really?
I haven't seen the video. It's some good shit. One time Death Verbal does some good music.
I mean, it would be awesome if Damage Control wasn't jobbing now.
Yeah, it's just I'm gonna sing the entrance. Like I'll show it to you, but it's the shit for real. But then I'm like, what the hell did y'all do to the Authors of Pain's music? My God,
bro, the NXT Authors of Pain entrance music,
that shit was fire.
Yeah, it was.
But then I listened to what they have them out to now. My God, dude, what? Wow.
You got to have them with with Cross. That group has so much potential, and they crapped it out. It's done.
It's like it doesn't matter now, because essentially it's kind of like they're not a dark side group, but you're kind of like they kind of have that aura about them, right?
Right.
So when you have a faction like the Wyatt Sicks that WWE is about to push to the moon, they already got T-shirts out for it. As soon as the group debuted, like,
oh yeah,
not even a minute later, they put the T-shirts on WWE Shop. So they already have. This is where we're going with this.
Yeah.
So all the other factions in WWF are going to have to be like, you have to play catch up here, because you already know creatively where they're going. It's only two factions right now in WWE that matter, and that is the Wyatt Sicks and the Bloodline.
That's a problem. That's a problem too, because who are you gonna have? Who you're gonna have the Wyatt Sicks go after? And if
everybody,
if it is everybody, who's gonna combat them?
The heels and babyface are gonna have to come together.
You're gonna have to have in essence, uneasy alliances. This is like an NWO situation we're dealing with.
Could be, because these guys are gonna have to, guys and gals, because Nikki Cross is involved. They're gonna have to. We have to buddy up and take down this new threat. There's the only way you can. Enemies are gonna have to become friends for the moment. That's what's going to end up happening.
You're gonna have. They got to navigate this carefully,
leading to war games.
Yeah, Because somebody that I know never makes sense actually made sense to me. And this is Ryback. Ryback said it's a tricky situation for them because there's no real like main eventer energy in that group right now. And he's like, when you have a card of potential, you have a stable full of potential mid carders, none of it really does good. And he gave some examples. And I was like, shit, like I want to disagree with you, but you're actually fucking right now. I was like, because he was talking about he talked about the stable with Sheamus and Drew, and
Yeah.
he brought them up. And who else did he bring up? He brought up a couple, and I was like, damn it. Like, I want to disagree with you, but you're fucking right. He's like, it never really ends well for stables that have mid carders, like it's full of mid carders and no real main event caliber talent in it. I was like,
Right.
fuck. But he actually made sense of it. And I'm like, yeah, they are gonna have to navigate this one really well. But I think there's enough there. And I think with that particular faction being a tribute to Bray, it does have a lot of firepower behind it right now.
Well, yeah, it's going to be protected. That's the thing about it.
Right.
It's going to be protected, just like in many aspects of the bloodline were protected during
Right.
Roman's run. So,
Right.
like I said, they're going to have to, incorporate them where they can, but also make sure that they don't take away from the main stories that are going on, which are going to be Roman and Solo eventually,
Right.
and also whatever they got going on with Randy Orton. There's possible he'll turn with Randy Orton because Orton was looking at the championship when he came out to help Cody. So there's always little things going on there, but you never know where they're going to pull the trigger on it. But
Always
obviously
yeah.
the big exactly. Then you have Drew McIntyre walking out, and which I would do with Drew McIntyre is I would send that guy down to TNA.
I thought of that too.
Yeah, I would, but he would be Drew Galloway.
Yep, change his name. Yep,
and not have him be on WTV for a few months and then bring him back because you have
it
that
works
working
because
relationship,
right,
and you can bring him. Correct.
right. You have that working relationship with TNA. Let him go down there, and it's kind of like a reset for him too. You know what I'm saying? Because Punk's gonna be he's gonna be in the main event scene. That's a given. And if you really want to, you do the Punk Seth thing. Because you don't need a belt for whatever Punk's gonna do. The obvious for me, the obvious choice right now, Gunther's got the shot. Let Gunther get the shot at SummerSlam. Put Gunther over. Whoever wins between, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get Seth Punk probably at SummerSlam, right? Because we're getting Priest and Seth at Money in the Bank. That's probably going to lead to Seth and Punk at SummerSlam.
I honestly, I would honestly hold off for Seth and Punk until at least Survivor Series.
I would say that too,
because that's where Punk returned. That's where Rollins had all the issues going on out there. So it would make sense for them to work together at that point. But also, when it comes to CM Punk, I would actually have CM Punk if just hypothetically speaking, if they sent Drew McIntyre down to TNA, I would have Punk show up at TNA. That's what I would do. I'd have him actually show up there as a surprise that nobody's expecting. And like McIntyre could say, I cannot escape this goddamn guy because he's showing up everywhere I go.
And do Punk and Galloway at TNA?
You can do Punk and Galloway at TNA, but not necessarily do them a match with them at TNA, but have Punk show up at TNA. And that's going to bring. How does he get back in? Well, you got to come back to WWE if you want to wrestle me. We'll do it at SummerSlam. What I would do.
I like that idea
because nobody is expecting to see Punk.
Right, I like that idea.
Punk hasn't been in TNA since what 03 or some shit like that. 02.
Yep.
So he, just the thought of him showing up there, like that's not going to happen. It happened,
and that would make it work because no one thinks it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. I like it. But then, and here's the thing. Because I think Damian Priest right now he's riding a wave of momentum.
Yeah.
I actually don't want to see him lose the belt.
Right.
But I know come SummerSlam, his time may be up.
You know, I'm a Priest fan, but it's something not working here. I don't know what it is. And he's coming
I
to his
think it
own,
I
but it's
think it
something
is.
not working.
I think it's starting, but I think right now the cloud of post WrestleMania, like, is he the guy? I think that's still hanging over him a little bit.
Yeah, but they haven't really given it a chance either.
Right? Exactly. But I do
That's the
think
thing.
what he did, it's not really the match because the match was great. It's what he said after the match that made me go, you know what? This guy, he's on to something. I think he's getting there, but I don't think they're going to give him the fair shake of actually getting there. I think by SummerSlam, we may be looking at Gunther as a new champion.
Yeah, and it's just like he may be getting there, but he doesn't have to be the world heavyweight champion to get there.
Right.
That's the whole thing. And it's like
Right.
with Gunther, like, okay, you got to give Gunther some type of a, consolation prize for dropping the Intercontinental Championship for as long as he
Right.
held it. So obviously the next thing would be, okay,
Give
it's
him a
going to
title
be
run.
the World Heavyweight Championship. And Mike Gunther is a very, very good foe for Damian Priest.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got the problem with booking these type of matches is somebody has to play the baby face, somebody got to be the
Somebody
heel.
had to be the heel. Yep.
And
I
obviously, to
think
me,
Priest can
is
do it.
Priest
But
is going to be Priest is going to do the babyface role here.
yep.
That's what's going to end up happening. But it's just a whole with the Judgment Day. It's just the group is kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of played out now, man. Just to be honest, like
they've already
they've had
planted the
their
seeds
run.
for them.
They've had their run,
break. Yeah.
and that's just
The
what it is.
seeds
Like
are there.
it's just not the same without Rhea Ripley being there. She can't be there, obviously. She's injured, but it's just not the same. But it's like I said, the whole thing with Liv Morgan and Dominic it's just so, as a viewer, casual viewer of it, it's just so contrived and forced. It's not clicking for me.
And I get that. I actually get. I do think, I'm trying to, I'm trying to give it a shot. All right, we know Rhea's coming back, and try to stick with it until she gets back. See if it pays off. But
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that too. It does seem like it's forced.
No, it is, and it's like, okay, so what's going to happen? Well, obviously, at some point, Dominic is going to turn, or it's going to be Finn that's going to turn, and Finn's going to be the one that ends up with Liv Morgan. That's what I can see happening here. It's like, and that would be a good thing because the big shock would be, okay, Dominic turns on Rhea, like, okay,
right,
whatever. That's like whatever. You can see that coming a mile away. But the other would be Finn Balor turning on the Judgment Day. Finn Balor has something going on with Liv Morgan, and he wants to infiltrate the Judgment Day. He feels the Judgment Day is his group. He is the one who took Edge out to be, the kind of de facto leader of the Judgment Day. And then that was taken away from Priest and Rhea Ripley. Yeah. So now you kind of either you're kind of with me or you're kind of against me. Okay, you're not with me, then you're against me. So I'm going to do what I can to tear the group from the inside out.
I like that too.
Yeah. That's called storytelling.
It's unexpected.
Yeah, that's called storytelling. It's called an arc. That's kind of what it is.
Okay, storyteller.
How is AEW doing, by the way?
Speaking of storytelling, actually, the story right now, and thank you God, they're actually building this. Will Ospreay
Uh,
versus Swerve Strickland. They're
yeah.
actually building this one. I haven't watched Dynamite as a whole tonight because
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar was wilding tonight. But what I've seen from Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland, A+ tonight.
Yeah, I read some of the transcript of the promo, but I guess I'll check it out on YouTube.
A+. It
Yeah.
was good. It was really good. And I walked away from it thinking that's how the fuck you build to a match. Thank you. Thank you and thank you.
So let me ask you this question. So do you think that the experiment with the new faction has paid off for AEW?
No. You talking about the Elite?
Correct.
No.
I think
I
we
would
both
give
agree
it
with
I
that.
would give it a no. But there's enough of it there. There's enough of it there to where there's eyes on someone else. Like tonight, from what I seen tonight, that shit was funny too. So you have Mark Briscoe cutting a promo, and then out of nowhere fucking walks Jack Perry. And
Yeah.
Mark Briscoe goes, "Get your ass out of here, Jack Perry." The way he said it was funny as fuck. But there's enough heat on them to where they can transfer that shit to somebody else. And they can run with it like Mark Briscoe did. But other than that, nah. I don't think they've established themselves. I don't think they've established themselves as top heels in the company.
I
or a top faction in the company.
Yeah, I don't see the heat myself. I don't see it.
It's not, and I want to say it's not go away heat. You know what I mean? People genuinely do hate them.
Yeah, but not for the right reasons.
Right.
That's the difference between a get heel,
right, and someone that's actually hated.
Correct, exactly. Like you,
right.
You. So when Ric Flair was a heel, you hated Ric Flair. You wanted to see him get his ass whooped because you wanted to be like Ric Flair. You wanted to have all the women and have all the money and the suits and all that stuff. You like there was people that like, damn, I hate this suit, but I really like Flair. I want to be Flair.
Right.
You don't have anybody that wants to be
right.
No,
nobody wants to be them. They just want to see them get their ass whooped. But to their credit,
I don't even know if that's the case. I just think people want to see them off TV. I mean, the ratings show it. The numbers show it when their segments are not drawing anybody, but
that too. But they do, for me, a good enough job getting it off of them. You know what I mean? It's like they know people hate them. They know this. And they kind of troll the shit sometimes because they know people hate them.
I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, overall though, the product of AEW, I am seeing a change. From what I saw tonight, they did segments, less wrestling, more storytelling. They're starting to hit a groove with that. That I am noticing.
Well, hopefully it pays off in the long run. Hopefully they can get people to come back to the arenas.
Tonight was actually it was a hot crowd tonight. It was an actual hot crowd.
Hot crowd versus a paying customer versus people in the building. Yes, three different things.
That is true. Now they do have work to do to get there.
So that's what I mean. Hopefully it works off.
I do believe they're putting the work in. That is fair. That is as fair as I can give them. I believe that they're putting the work in. Whether that will translate into people actually investing their time and money into the product, that remains to be seen. But
yeah,
I do believe they're doing it.
And then the thing about this is that don't get it twisted. Like I'm not coming up here and trying to bury AEW. I don't watch their product. When this venture first started with AEW, I was one of their biggest supporters. I watched their first pay per view and just it's crazy that night. When that happened. Seeing Bret Hart out there with the belt, John Moxley showing up at the end and confronting Omega and Jericho. That was good shit when that first happened. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And just watching the weekly show. I mean, it was cool to have another wrestling show to watch, and then it being special to me because it was on the Turner networks. That's where and just having Shivani there with Jim Ross. That's great. And there's so many great moments that they've had in AEW, and just somewhere along the lines it just fell off. So I would love for them to get back to where they used to be. I would love to see them drawing people back to the shows. I'd love to see the ratings go up for the shows because I know a lot of people out there, a lot of the wrestlers, they go out there and they're literally busting their ass out there, for our entertainment. So I'm not exactly come out here trying to bury them. I would love for the product to get better. And we've had many, many times we come on this podcast where we have put different scenarios creatively on what could work in AEW, different things they could do. And let's not also get this twisted. Everything is not hunky dory and positive over at the WWE either. They've
Nope.
lost a lot of momentum since WrestleMania. So it's
That is
just
a
the
fact.
brand is not as hot as it was. I mean, they're doing good, but they've dropped a couple of cylinders. I have to say that, you know what I mean? The Wyatt Sicks is just one aspect of trying to rebuild over there,
Yep.
but they got a lot of work to do because
They took a gigantic step in a positive direction with the Wyatt Sicks because
yeah, and that's like I
it
said,
was flat.
that's
It
just
was
one
flat.
element. That's just one element though. Like
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, we gotta see what else they can bring to the table. But, hopefully, like I said, hopefully for AEW, hopefully it works out, you know. But they
Yeah.
just gotta get the focus back together, do some concise, creative stories that's gonna draw in not only their hardcore audience, but gonna draw people in that don't watch it and let
Right.
them see what we're doing and potentially grow an audience. You cannot survive on just your hardcore fan base. That's not going to work. You got to draw outside of this. That's why the WWE always looked outside of it. Like we know we have our fans, but we need to go get those fans, and that's how it works.
Yep.
You know,
Agreed.
that's why they were afraid back in the day when they launched Nitro. They didn't like that idea because they basically said it's going to split the audience. Like we're going to have so many people watching our show and then so many watching that show. So they did not like the idea of Nitro going head to head, and they didn't like that. They didn't think it was going to work, and obviously it did. For a short amount of time.
Yep. Agreed. Speaking of Monday Nitro, let's go into it. Who Killed WCW episode 3. Now, this episode focused on the latter years of WCW, particularly the decline of the product, how the product declined, and then the focus on the network and their attitude towards WCW towards the end of WCW. And we opened up this attitude, not the attitude, we opened up this episode with Brad Siegel. And Brad Siegel said out of his mouth that he wore a lot of hats for the company of TNT. They had a lot of things that they were into. His least favorite was WCW. You cannot sustain a company if you have somebody running the shows, not really running the shows, but like in charge of it all. And his attitude towards that company is fuck this shit. I don't care about it. Like they were doomed with him in that position. Doomed.
So Eric Bischoff on his 83 weeks .com, his 83 weeks podcast on YouTube, he actually does a reaction after the episode is aired. And one of the things he said was that when Ted initially announced, okay, we're going to go with Nitro on TNT on Monday nights, they asked Scott Sassa asked Ted, Brad's on vacation. What do you think Brad's going to think about this? And Eric basically said, Ted said, Brad's a good guy. He'll come around. Basically, he's going to do what he's told because he knows that this is what we're going to do.
Right.
So Eric says once that happened, he said Brad was very supportive of WCW. He said he allocated a lot of budget to research, for Nitro, and helped a lot. You got money for the set. You got money for the opening that they did for Nitro. He did a lot of good stuff for WCW. He was very supportive of WCW, even if he didn't want to be.
Right.
Because Brad's ultimate goal was to beat the USA Network. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't give a shit about wrestling. He's not a wrestling guy, but he understood the revenue, understood the rating that they were going to get if they beat USA. Problem though with WCW is that you have the organization behind Ted Turner that did not want professional wrestling. You had people under Ted Turner that didn't want professional wrestling. And that's the problem. This thing can be making as much money as it wants. It doesn't matter. And at one point, they were sustaining themselves at WCW, where they didn't have to have any of the money from, ads and all that shit. But their money got gutted. Their budget got gutted, especially moving towards the merger, because they had to beef up these other properties, and then it made WCW look like, it was a money loser, when in reality it was not. As Guy Evans said, at one point in time, WCW was making in excess of $200 million a year is what they were pulling in. So they took on, and I don't know if they got to that part or not, but they took on the third hour of Nitro to essentially pay for Thunder, because Ted wanted this show, but Turner didn't want to pay for the show. So they said, okay, Ted Turner wants this other show, but you are going to pay for it. Which they weren't getting a licensing fee from that. It's like, and they brought up a good point. They said, where would AEW and WWE be today if they weren't getting that TV rights fee from the networks? Bischoff wasn't getting that from Turner.
Right.
They were doing this shit on their own. So that's why it's laughable when people like Meltzer come out and talk about WCW and financials and all this shit, when it's like, bro, they were making their own money and paying themselves. They did not have a licensing or rights fee from the Turner networks. It just wasn't there. And it's this also this episode was titled New Blood, so it essentially talks about Vince Russo coming into WCW and what led to all of that. And I've talked to Vince a couple of times, interviewed Vince a couple of times. I think Vince is cool. He's a very nice guy. I've interviewed Bischoff. He's a nice guy as well.
Yep.
And I know the story of Russo, and Russo basically was kind of under the microscope here to defend himself and defend his actions. And he came out and said basically that he's partially to blame for Eric Bischoff being, fired, which I don't believe that. I don't
believe that either.
What it comes down to, and Eric said this, is Eric was supposed to have a meeting with someone at Turner. He thought the person that he was talking to was a friend. The person kind of stooged him out to this person he was going to have an interview with. And the next day he gets a call from Harvey Schiller. And Harvey Schiller says, I need you to come up to my office. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm on my way to the office. Come up to my office right now. He's like, well, can't we do it later today? No. Come up to my office right now. And he talk to you. And that's when he let him go. So Eric said basically that he had a pay or play option in his contract, which basically said that when he was fired, they had to sit him at home. He would sit home and they paid him.
Mm-hmm.
So when he comes back, the story comes, well, Brad Siegel realizes after 3 months of Russo's content, this wasn't working. And it was not ad friendly at all. Not advertising friendly at all.
They covered this, yep.
Yeah. So they had to make a change there. And what ends up happening is Bill Bush says, we're going to form a committee. And now Russo is the same way. I didn't sign up to be in a committee. I signed up to be the head of creative for WCW. I'm not interested in the committee. I'm going to go home. you figure out a way to pay me. So obviously he must have had to pay up play in his option in his contract as well. So both these guys are at home. Kevin Sullivan is now in charge of creative for WCW, and we all know what happens after that. Kevin Sullivan gets in charge. The Radicals leave.
Yep.
And go to WWF. And Eric is sitting in a bar with his wife, and they're playing Monday Night Raw, and he saw the Radicals in the front row. And he says, WCW must have really hit rock bottom if these guys have jumped ship to the WWF. And he says, I guarantee you they're going to call me to come back. And that's what happened.
And they did. Yep, they did. Now, in the episode, this is where in the episode that they talked about the relationship between Russo and Bischoff. And I think there was a miscommunication.
Yeah.
Which when Bischoff comes back, it's assumed that he's going to be watching Russo. And Russo is under the assumption that Bischoff isn't his boss. But it's kind of like they're both confused on what the role is.
Yeah.
And it kind of fractures that relationship. Even Bischoff in the documentary, he was like, professionally, I don't really like Russo. But outside of that, he's a nice guy. So they tried to make it work. It just ultimately, that relationship, it didn't work professionally. It wasn't gonna work professionally.
Yeah, and what I got from that is I think Brad Siegel might have been playing both sides here. I think he was telling Bischoff one thing and then telling Russo another thing. So but that's why Russo felt like he didn't have to answer to Bischoff.
Right. And vice versa.
Yeah, but I think Brad trusted Bischoff more because he said, we had a very good working relationship when he was here. We had success when he was here. And I think Brad Siegel was initially trying to make that, trying to bring back the magic that they had with WCW in 96, 97, 98, half of 99. I think that's what he was essentially trying to do.
But the way he
the wheels
did it
had fall. The
way he went about doing it was wild.
But he's the same person that said professional wrestlers are pathological liars. But I'm under the belief watching this that, sir, you
are the pathological. Yeah.
You are playing both sides.
If he'd have went about this in a way that you could have had them co-creative, like you could have that, and it would have worked out way better. But you had this man, you had Bischoff in a role, kind of like Vince McMahon, where he's like the last dime, except Russo doesn't know this. So Russo is like, even Russo in the documentary was like, tell me he's just make him head of creative. Like, if that's what you're trying to do, just do that. Yeah. And, just let it be that. But the role wasn't clearly defined. And I think that fractured an already fragile relationship to where you're not really going to trust anybody. Because from Russo's point of view, it's Bischoff and Hogan. Because Bischoff, even in the documentary, is like the way he's doing Hulk Hogan is like you're sneaking around him because Hogan had the creative control card. And it just made it, Siegel being in that role just made everything a fucking mess because the communication was out of whack.
Well, and also, in my view, as we get to Bash at the Beach 2000, where the big controversy that happens here is going to be the finish to the Jeff Jarrett versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan match. Yep. And the creative plan that they said is for Hogan to beat Jeff Jarrett, but Hogan is going to be pissed about the way it happens, and he is going to leave.
Yep.
And come back in October at Halloween Havoc and come back and face whoever they make the champion. That was the plan. Russo didn't want to do that. Russo felt they needed to go another direction, which would be Booker T winning the championship whatever they had planned. I don't know if Booker T was on that. I mean, he could be Jeff Jarrett winning. I believe Jeff Jarrett was the original plan, and then have him and Booker wrestle later in the night. I'm not sure, but when you look at it, like, so Eric says on his podcast, Eric says Conrad Thompson pointed out and asked a question. He says, "Would you be willing to talk to Vince Russo on this show?" And he says only if Vince Russo could tell the truth about one thing. At Bash at the Beach, we had a meeting in the trailer that was set up at the Ocean Center in Daytona. I was in that trailer. Vince Russo was in that trailer. Brad Siegel was in that trailer. Hulk Hogan was in that trailer. If he was to tell the truth about what the finish was, I would be more than happy to have him on the show and talk to him. But at the same time, he says, we all agreed to one thing. I don't know what happened after me and Hulk left that trailer. What Brad Siegel told Vince Russo. I don't know if there was another conversation.
Right.
So that's kind of where we're getting at here. And I think that's what it was, because Hulk Hogan legitimately sued WCW after Russo did that promo. And I think the judge said in the case, I think the case went on to about 03, I think it was. But basically the judge says Russo's not really at fault because he said remarks about Hulk Hogan, the character, not Terry Bollea, the man. So that was pretty much a done deal. And you didn't see Hogan again on a national promotion. I mean, Hogan did some stuff for the XWF, but you didn't see Hogan ever again on a national level until the WWF run in 2002.
Right.
So I think that there's just a lot of stuff that, and Russo, I mean, Eric just says that he just doesn't trust Vince Russo. That's what he said.
Yeah, because on the documentary, so on Who Killed WCW, the story was, it's kind of like how you said it, except, and even Russo kind of admitted it, that he went into business for himself.
Right.
Was the plan? The plan was the Jared Hogan angle was supposed to happen. Hogan gets mad. He walks out. Bischoff and Hogan were under the assumption that was it. That you go back, you'll come back in October, and you'll battle whoever wins. And Russo says that he went out afterwards. He cut that promo, but he was in character. And according to him, Booker T was supposed to get the belt that night. But he admitted on the documentary that was something that he did. He actually kind of went into business on himself for himself. And even Bischoff said that. He's like, he went into business for himself.
That was not the plan. That's not the plan that they talked about.
Right.
And then, that further goes into Booker T saying pretty much that, he didn't believe that he could ever become the WCW champion.
He said that too.
Black,
Yep, he said that too.
And I think that what this DVD, or not DVD, I should say, this documentary kind of skipped over was the fact that Ron Simmons had been the first Black WCW World Champion. About, so it did about 8 years before that, right? So
yeah.
So
but Booker's reasoning was he said it was because he was Black. He did say that on the documentary. He said that. But he said it was more so he's like, you had the click and the good old boy system there at the time. He's like, I just didn't think it was gonna happen.
Yeah, but Booker, and that could be kind of taken out of context too, because of like the way they edited the footage together. So when Booker first got there, remember Booker T came into WCW under the Bill Watts era.
Right.
So they came in, him and Stevie Ray came in with chains on, like they had got out of prison or some shit, like they escaped. They were on the chain gang and led by Colonel Parker.
Right.
So that's was their entrance into WCW. And Eric Bischoff cleaned a lot of that shit up. That's one of the reasons why Eric got the job over there. So I don't know. I mean, Ron Simmons was the first Black World Champion. I think eventually it would have happened for Booker T. Because that's kind of the direction they were going to go in anyway. But one
Russo
of the things
was definitely willing to go in that direction.
Yeah, but one thing that they did not mention on this documentary, and maybe they'll mention it next week on episode 4, But they did not mention on this show was the racial discrimination lawsuit that was filed against WCW, which led to Booker T becoming the world champion.
Oh no, they didn't bring that up at all.
They didn't bring that up. Yeah. So there was a lawsuit that was filed in WCW by several talents. One of the talents that filed this lawsuit was a guy named Hard Work Bobby Walker. He filed a racial discrimination lawsuit against him. Sonny Ono is another one who filed who was part of his lawsuit. A lot of the Mexican talent filed his lawsuit. A lot of the Japanese talents filed his lawsuit, and that was under the Russo administration. So, not sure if that played into it. People that I've talked to, off the record that were in the WCW at the time, tells me that that's the reason why Booker T got the belt. Is because to appease this lawsuit was going on.
Believable.
No different than when Teddy Long told me the reason why Doom got the championships is because the NAACP called Turner and asked, how come there are no black champions? So Hank Aaron heard about this, went to Ted Turner, and that's what happened.
Made it happen. Huh.
Correct.
That's believable. That's a very believable thing. But
so
no,
I just
they
kind
did
of
not
found it
bring that
funny.
up.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that wasn't on there. And they actually got comments, and that's how. So, and this a lot of people got to do their stuff. This is how a lot of the books, the internal documents of WCW got released. It's because of the discovery from that racial discrimination lawsuit. So that's how you got to know the contract and salaries and the pay disparities and all that kind of shit. That all came from the discovery from that lawsuit. That did not get brought up in this docuseries.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But yeah, man, this episode 3, I walked away from that. And it's sad because a lot of that shit was preventable. A lot of it was preventable. Like, communication probably would have been key. There was a lot of ego there too, because you had people they talked about one funny thing. I was like, oh wow. So not really funny, but Russo was like, they were like, he was injecting himself more and more into the stories.
Yes.
And Russo goes, honestly, bro, I was better than 80% of that roster.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know about that part. I mean, I don't know. Like I said before, I'm a Russo guy. I like Vince. But I mean, Russo is I think Russo is good in short amounts.
Yeah.
But that's it. And it's like, and then the part that's interesting is when Russo said he legitimately thought Goldberg was trying to hurt him.
Oh,
he took that spear.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I kind of don't believe that because all the padding that Russo had on.
He had a helmet on.
He had the helmet on. He had the shoulder pads on. I mean, he says that he was supposed to spear him to the entrance. I'm like, well, the way that cage is configured, I don't know how that was going to happen.
Bro, you were hitting that guardrail regardless.
Yeah, but you didn't even like Goldberg. To me, it looked like he protected him the best he could.
He did.
Because I looked at it and it's like you didn't really hit that hard, bro. You had a lot of padding going. Like this ain't the ballet.
Right.
You're gonna hurt someone.
You had a helmet on.
He took care of it. Yeah, he took care of it.
You had a helmet on, and even Goldberg was like, if I was really trying to hurt him, he'd be 6 feet under the ground right now.
Yeah,
I kind of believe that. Yeah. I kind of believe that.
And then they further went on to go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, you if you don't know the risk going out there, like you said it. It's not ballet, man.
Right.
There's a risk going out there and performing that. So you going out there, you assume the risk.
Yeah. And then on top of that, they went on further, kind of round out the episode. They went on further to talk about David Arquette winning the WCW World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
And, the fact that they had an idea. They were going to do a tag match on Thunder. It was Eric Bischoff and who was it? Eric Bischoff and Jeff Jarrett versus David Arquette and Diamond Dallas Page. It was for the world title.
Yep.
And they initially, had an idea what they're going to do, and then when Tony Schiavone comes in and makes a suggestion to Vince, he says, "Hey, wouldn't it be kind of like a interesting idea if David Arquette won the belt?" And they brought everybody back in. They agreed to that, and then DDP was like, "Okay, so what's the finish?" No, that's what the finish is. No, seriously, what's the finish?
Yep.
He's like,
Even
no.
DDP.
He's like, no way. And then David Arquette was like, no.
I don't want
that's
it.
not. I don't want to do it.
Yep.
And then what thing about Arquette that Arquette is telling a story about how basically it was going to go. Ready to Rumble was going to go into bring the Ready to Rumble movie into the WWE programming. And one of the things that he said that I found very interesting is when he won the championship and he's back in the back and he sees Booker T, and he asks Booker T, "How many times have you won a world title, Book?" And Booker says, "I haven't.
I ain't never won it."
And that killed his momentum. Like, fuck. Like, he felt like he just felt like absolute dog shit.
Yep.
And I just, and it's like, I mean, Arquette did the best he could. Listen, Arquette earned my respect a long time ago because Arquette actually paid his dues on the indies doing shit. Yep. He paid his dues. So, I mean, people still tripping about that or whatever. It is what it is. I mean, Vince Russo made himself a WCW champion at one point. I think that's the nepotism that happens there. When you make yourself the WCW World Champion, and I'm a Vince Russo guy, but I'm like, dude, that ain't good. That's the difference between you making yourself a WCW World Champion and then Vince McMahon making himself a WWF champion. It's two different things there. You know what I mean? So, but that's pretty much the way that's pretty much the way the episode ended. Next week on episode number 4, they're going to talk about essentially the end of WCW. They're going to get into just everything that happened. The day of the last Nitro, nobody knew nothing until Shane McMahon walked through the door. And I hope they got footage of all this. Apparently, they got some cam footage that people were shooting that day.
Yeah, they were showing like the preview to that episode, and it was footage I'd never seen before.
Nobody saw it until they made a call and found out that somebody had been recording all this, recording this shit, and that film should be protected. But
that's
they were recording this. Yeah, they were recording this stuff, and nobody knew. Like it was pretty much the end, and I can't wait for them. I know the story of Fusion Media coming in and trying to buy WCW and Eric Bischoff having his partners, and they raised $64 million in capital to buy it. And then Jamie Kellner comes in. AOL Time Warner merger happens. Jamie Kellner comes in and is put in charge of TNT and TBS. It says basically, we don't want wrestling other networks. You can buy the rings, you can buy the videotape library, you can buy everything except you're not going to have a TV time. And that's what led to the demise. And then the WWF comes and picks it up. And we're going to see all that next week. And we're going to hopefully maybe a surprise interview from Jamie Kellner. Not saying it's going to happen, but it would be kind of cool to see him on camera talking about this.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
And that pretty much was episode 3 of the Who Killed WCW on Vice.
Yeah. It was very good. It was a very good episode. I am really looking forward to episode 4. I really am. As much as I know it's gonna suck seeing all of it, because you got to relive this shit. When WCW folded, I was actually sad about it. So
it got even worse for me, over time when the network started up, and then they actually have the signal, the satellite from that night where it says, "Thank you and goodbye." WCW with the classic Nitro music playing in the background.
Yep. So,
I mean, the last image of WCW you see is Shane McMahon on the Tron and Vince McMahon in the ad for WrestleMania 17. That's the last. That's it. There you don't hear Tony Schiavone or Scott Hudson on there. You don't hear any of them. It's just that's it.
Yep.
Yeah. The last voice you hear on Nitro is Jim Ross.
Yep. So you're gonna have to relive that shit. So I'm looking forward to it, but I know it's gonna be a heavy episode, especially for WCW fans. So
hell yeah.
But yeah, man. Final thoughts. What you got?
Final thoughts is actually nothing. There's just I have no final thoughts. It's
no final thoughts tonight.
No final thoughts tonight. Just everybody out there, just like what you like and don't give a fuck who don't.
I dig it. No spay your pets, nothing like that.
Oh, you can spay them, but
Help control the pet
if you
population.
can help control the pet population all you want to. But if anybody's not going to adhere to that, then I don't know.
Yeah, all right. I dig it. I dig it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Don't forget, we have our first DFPN game night on Saturday, hosted by Jen from the Queens of Nerdum. They got a good game going on. That one's actually going to be, I think, public and not on the Patreon. So make sure you guys tune in to that. Fallen Star Friday is going to be Friday. USDN just dropped an episode. Smoke Pit's coming. And then we do all of this next week. So next week we have Montezi actually come back tomorrow. I'll be speaking with Demo Diamond, who just won the MPX championship. So we'll be checking in with him. And then we got Montezi next week, and I'm working on bringing Maya World back to No Gimmicks. So we're rolling, man. But tap in with us. If you got nothing else, I got nothing else, man.
I didn't know that Kevin Kelly is planning to sue AEW.
Oh yeah, he is.
I'm gonna have to listen to Eric Bischoff's Wise Choices because apparently he was on there and he's talking about that. But I want to talk about this. So actually, when I get some free time, I'm going to start writing my own Star Wars series, and
do that.
I'm going to have Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, Luke Skywalker. I'm going to have Yoda. I'm going to have Kit Fisto, and I'm going to have Darth Bane all in the same universe, all in the same episode.
Right. Okay, all right. If that works for you.
Oh well, I mean, hey. No, if a person can not be born and it can be in the acolyte, then I can do whatever I want.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying.
Hey, you're a Star Wars fan?
Shout out to my boy Kiadi Money for getting that DeLorean and going back.
If you're a Star Wars fan and you want to make your own universe, hey, it's your story.
Yeah, I'm gonna add Batman into it. I'm gonna add Batman into it as well.
You know Hayden Christensen's probably going to be playing Batman.
I saw Rob post that, and I'm like, Jeff, Rob, sources or it don't happen. I saw that.
We'll see.
But if that happens, hey, I'm cool with it. I like Hayden.
I like Hayden too.
Yeah, so I'll be cool.
I don't know how believable of a Batman he'll be, but
you know what? I think the guy has range and acting. The guy just ain't Anakin Skywalker. I mean, he has range. He's an actor.
Yes.
If Robert Pattinson can go out there and be the Batman, I'm sure Anakin Skywalker can be Batman.
All right. We'll see. We'll see. I hope he is, honestly.
Yeah. So other than that, I got nothing else other than continue to help control the pet population, I guess, and have your pets spayed or neutered. Long live the Empire. Free all the Sith, and that's pretty much it, man. I ain't got nothing else.
Word.
We had a whole discussion about the acolyte before we started the show, but we're not going to talk about it because we already got it out of our system.
Yeah, we did. We absolutely did.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So
hold on.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna give a little brief synopsis right quick on episode 4.
Oh my God! Here we go.
No, I'm gonna just say it like this. All right, look, was episode 4 like a bad show? I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, I didn't like the fact that May became a babyface all of a sudden. I didn't like that part of it. I didn't like seeing a character that wasn't born yet in the show. But other than that, I liked the debut of the Sith Lord. I thought that was pretty cool. Coming down the way, coming down from the top and the slow walk towards Osha. I thought that was pretty cool. I love seeing the red lightsaber because if you have a red lightsaber, you're a Sith. I like seeing that. And I like seeing the force push of all the marked Jedi. So I mean, hey, it was cool for what it was. If it's on a scale of 1 to 10, hey, bro, easily, no doubt, I give this a 3.
Wow. I'm not touching that because we'll be here another hour.
I'm just saying. I'm actually pointing
I'm
out.
not touching
I'm
it.
actually pointing out the positives of it.
I'm not doing it.
I'm
Nope.
actually pointing out the positives, man.
That's great. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. No, I think the Sith Lord was pretty cool. Now it's like the question is going to be who's the Sith Lord. So it's only two people it can be. It could be Mother Coral. It could be her, or it could be. I like the idea. I do like the idea though of a splinter Jedi group that have turned to the dark side, or using the dark forces. I like the idea of that. You know, that would make sense. Because we've seen that continuously in Star Wars, where you've had, you know, I mean, it's shit. That's what the majority of the, and okay, that's like, you know, the Star Wars fans are complaining about shit. That's where the majority of the Inquisitors are. Fallen Jedi, fallen Padawans that have gone to the dark side. That's what they are.
Yes.
So.
You're muted.
Son of a bitch. I'm actually interested. I didn't say that was a big deal. I'm actually looking forward. Let me go out the way. Okay, cool. I'm actually looking forward to seeing this revelation if it is a Splinter Cell, because they said it. You know, I think a Jedi trained her. You know, so I'm that's intriguing to me. Even if the show is a shit show with shit writing, that's intriguing to me to see where they're gonna finish it off. I'm just saying it ain't all bad. I've seen worse shit. You feel me? I've seen worse shit. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not touching this.
I'm intrigued on that.
I'm not touching this one.
It
we'll come back for episode 5. I'm not.
You might come back for episode 5. You might come back.
Not touching it. I'm good.
Stop being a pussy.
Nope. Not doing it. Not
being
doing
a mark. You're being a mark.
I am not going there tonight.
Well, you already said on Facebook how you felt about it, so it doesn't matter.
I did. So if you want to know my thoughts, check my Facebook post.
But all these motherfuckers don't have Facebook.
Well,
exactly.
Check my Facebook.
Why don't you go ahead and give, you know, that's the thing about what we do here on No Gimmicks. Why don't you just go ahead and give I gave my thoughts, give your thoughts. It's whatever. We're talking.
I thought, and I'll say it briefly, I thought episode 4 was a decent episode. I did. The general consensus is episode 3 is not a good episode. Episode 4 brought it back for me. I liked episode 4. I like the concept that we're seeing Jedi in a different view, right? They're Jedi, they're still Jedi. We know that they're the antagonists of the show, but they're too fucking comfortable. I like that aspect of the show. I like that there's a possibility that they are going to let the Sith rise again because they're just looking for the wrong shit. Now, you mentioned the Splinter Jedi cell. That could be a possibility. My theory is there's a Sith out there that they're actually missing, and that Sith is getting away with shit.
Oh, I agree. And that's what I'm talking about. Like all bullshit aside, that's the part of the story that's intriguing. It's because who is the Sith? Who is the person that's behind this? Because you have the Sith, and then you have people that wield red lightsabers.
Right.
Just because you have a red lightsaber don't mean you're a Sith. You know what I mean?
That is true.
So that's kind of what I'm getting at. So that part of it, I'm actually intrigued. I will say that episode 4 was a way step above episode 3. Episode 3 was just a shit show. I'm not going to come up here and defend that. I don't give a fuck how much people like the damn story or whatever. No, that was. I didn't
like episode 3.
That was trash. This episode, like I said, I'm gonna give it a 3, and that's just it is what it is. I'm gonna give it a 3 because there's just not a lot of story there. There's not.
I've seen people like episode 3. For me personally, it wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah, I don't.
And that's just me.
Yeah, I give episode 4 a 3 out of 10 because there's just not a lot of story there. There's just not a lot to go with. I mean, 1 minute the girl wants to kill her sister, next minute now, okay, my loyalty is my sister. We had a build up for Vader for 4, 5, and 6. We had that. We didn't have that here, and everybody is speculating that the lines will be, no, I'm your mother or some shit like that. Mike,
we'll see.
I mean, again, it is what it is.
Yeah, we got.
It is what it is.
It got to play out.
Yeah. So I mean, they have me mildly intrigued with the reveal of the Sith Lord, the possible spinning grip. Like I said, the Jedi are showing their flaws, no different than when they showed the flaws in the prequels. Same kind of thing. They let Palpatine. The Jedi, I think the thing with the High Republic Jedi that I'm noticing is that they are very political. They are so in the Senate. No different than their counterparts in the prequels that are trying to stay loyal to the Senate, but also not have the Senate in their business. As we saw with using Anakin as a spy on the Chancellor.
Yep.
Same shit. So, I don't know. We'll see where it goes.
We'll see.
Yep. But other than that, I ain't got no further final thoughts. Other than that, like I said, long live the Empire and, is what it is.
Bet. All right, you guys. Thank you for tuning in to episode 74. Come back next time. Until then, peace, be safe, and we'll see you.
And I know it's all business, all business, all business. We give them no gimmick. Yeah. And I know it's all business, all business, all business. We give them no gimmick. Yeah. And I know it's all business, all business, all business. We give them no gimmicks.